Hi guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the San Martin SN0005. This is the 2024 edition. I received this watch for free. I don't have to send the watch back, but you guys know the deal by now. It's not going to sway my review one way or another. You're always going to get my honest opinion on this channel. And if you guys want to pick this watch up at the end of this review, I'm going to leave a link down in the video description. That is an affiliate link. You guys don't pay any extra. I just earn a little bit of commission on every sale, and that keeps the channel going. So thank you guys so much for the continued support over the years. The retail price for this watch is $320 US. That's before any taxes, sales, coupons, VAT, coupons, etc. Check those coupons. San Martin always seems to have coupons on these newer models, so yeah, make sure you check that before you pull the trigger on this thing. The watch comes in 4 different configurations that you can see here: black dials, white dials, and then you have applied indices, which are using white BGW9 lume, and then the printed dials are using C3 old radium luminova. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at the options. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal, a sapphire bezel insert, screw down crown, screw down case back, 200 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Seiko NH34 automatic movement. So if you guys aren't familiar, this watch has actually been in San Martin's catalog for a very long time. This was one of their first models. I've always liked this version. They previously had this with the Hangzhou 6460, and then I always kind of wanted it. At the time when I was looking at it, I thought it was just outrageous. It was like $350, $360 when it first came out. Now that I see the quality of these things, they're probably worth it back then. But thankfully in 2024, they have dropped the price. They use the NH34, which I think is a great option. And then they use their new clasp and threw out a couple different colorways. So now that I have this watch in hand after, about 5 years of looking at this thing, what do I think of the watch? I say we dig in and find out. Before we do a quick wrist check today, wearing the Sugess version 2 top chronometer. Still really like this watch, and this thing has been dead accurate for me, which is quite surprising for an auto chronograph. Yeah, really like this one. Go check out the review right up here. All right, so let's get into the dimensions. We got a bezel diameter of 40.9 millimeters, case thickness of 13.6, and a 20 millimeter lug width, lug tip to lug tip of 48.7 millimeters, total length of 51.6 millimeters, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with one link removed. It weighs 146 grams. So I think the size of this thing kind of threw me off. 41 millimeters at the bezel. The case is slightly smaller at 40 millimeters, but it's still a little bit bigger than I would like for a watch of this style. This is a very vintage style watch. If this thing was like 38 by 46, I think it would be fantastic. As it is though, if you guys like a bigger or chunkier watch, you're going to really like this one. It's a nice option for you guys. For me, it's just a little bit too big. Very flat case, a little bit chunky as well. I think on the bracelet it wears bigger than it does, so I've been wearing it mostly on straps, but I am going to go outside right now and throw this on the wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist. It definitely has a wrist presence, pretty thick as well in a flattish case. So yeah, it's a little bit bigger than I would like for this style of watch. I think this is more suited for like a 38 millimeter. But if you're looking for something bigger and kind of that vintage look, this is, it looks fantastic. That 5-link bracelet is awesome. The polishing on the chamfers there, the bezel insert, oh my gosh, it just looks so good. It looks really, really good. Popping out in some direct sunlight here, you can really see the pop of color on the bezel there, a bright red and a really dark blue. I think it looks fantastic. Direct sunlight there does get a little bit washed out, but for the most part, I mean, this crystal has enough AR coating on it that it does a good job of keeping it nice and legible. But yeah, I think this watch is fantastic. I've actually been wearing it, as much as I like this bracelet and think that it's a good bracelet, I've actually been wearing it on straps a lot. So I think it makes it wear a little bit smaller. So yeah, that's the main reason why I've done it. So yeah, I'm gonna go throw it on my couple of my favorite straps and we'll get back to this review. Here we are, a simple black rubber strap from Strapsco. Very comfortable combination. Don't think it looks fantastic, but it's definitely doable, and I think it doesn't look bad, but yeah, just not my favorite. All right, let's throw it on a couple other straps. And here we are on a dark brown 2-stitch leather strap. This is from Hemsuit. Really nice strap, and I think it just goes perfectly with this watch. Really, really like this combination. And lastly, here we are on a nylon strap. This is a Cincy Strap Co. SF2, an Admiralty gray. So really dark gray. I think it looks fantastic. There's 2 layers underneath the watch. It's a pretty thin nylon strap, so it's not too bad on this watch. It does keep it still fairly wearable, but a little bit thicker than I would like. The watch, not the strap. But I do think that color combo looks great. This is the one I've actually been wearing it most on. So, all right, yeah, let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing on this. And as always from San Martin, the case finishing is very impressive. You have a vertical brushing on the tops of the lugs here. Really, really happy with that. Nice and vertical and linear and even. It just looks fantastic. Working our way to the case sides here, you have, again, horizontal brushing on the case sides. Very nicely done, nice and satin. And I mean, it just looks fantastic. And again, polished chamfer here. Really sharp transitions, and the polishing, it seems to be done very nicely as well. They're just consistently excellent with their case finishing, and this is no different. It looks really, really good. You have a signed screw down crown here, San Martin Hex logo. Yeah, I mean, it just looks fantastic, guys. They did a great job on this one as well. Flipping it over to the case back here, you do have your coin edge style case back, which I'm not a fan of. It's unsigned, sterile. Circular brushing, but it's done nicely. Everything is smooth and soft. No issues there. This edge here is a little bit sharp and it does contact your wrist, so I've noticed a little bit of discomfort, but not too bad. For the most part, the watch is pretty comfortable on wrist, and otherwise there's no real sharp corners or sharp points on this case. It's nicely done, nicely finished. All right, so let's talk about the bezel on this thing. So first things first, you're going to notice the bezel insert. The bezel insert is actually sapphire. I tested that with my diamond selector. It is a sapphire bezel insert. Really, really cool. Very happy with it. It looks awesome. You can see this nice dome to it. It just looks vintage. It's great. You have loomed markings all the way around there. This is kind of the old radium loom here on the applied dial. Those are white, so just something to note. I think it looks really good. Very happy with it. I like the color of it. It's a really dark blue with a kind of a bright red. Yeah, they look great. The transitions are nice and sharp as well. They did a very good job with this thing, and when I do show you the loom, you'll notice that the red and the blue kind of glow as well. That's just kind of residual from the applied loom kind of shining through the red there. So it's pretty dark, but you can definitely see it in person, and it does fade pretty quickly, but it's a pretty cool look at that first initial burst of glow. It looks really, really cool. All right, so the bezel itself is a stainless steel bezel. It is fully polished there, except for in between the teeth there. You can see it's kind of a bead blasted finish there, but really nicely done, nice and sharp transitions. You got enough grip on this thing. The grip could be a little bit better, but it seems fine. The bezel itself is a 24 click bidirectional bezel, which is nice to see. Nice solid clicks right into place. Very happy with it. I've got no major complaints with the bezel action. I think the resistance is nice. The clicks are nice and solid, and everything lines up where it should. So as far as that goes, the bezel is very nice. It does have some play in it, as you can see here. It's kind of locked into position up here at the 12 o'clock, but it's got a little bit of play down at the bottom here. There's no bounce or anything like that, but definitely a little bit more play than I would like to see, especially on a watch like this. Maybe I got a dud. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's what this one looks like. So they could definitely tighten that up a little bit. But besides that, I think the bezel, I think it looks great. And the clicks are very, very satisfying all the way around. I mean, it's good resistance too. Yeah, very nice. It's kind of a deep click. It's not noisy at all, but really nicely done in my opinion. All right, so let's talk about the crystal. First things first, we'll test it for sapphire. It is positive for sapphire. We will try and test this bezel insert as well. So there you can see it is positive for sapphire as well. So it's a really nice sapphire crystal. Box dome, you can see there, kind of has some distortion on the edges there. It's a pretty low box dome. I think that's mostly because it's blocked by this bezel insert. But it's a nice crystal. You can see right on the edges there, it does have some blue anti-reflective coating, but it's got plenty of it. I think they chose a nice dial for this watch. It looks good. It looks vintage. And yeah, it looks good. I got no real complaints with it. All right, so let's talk about the dial on this thing. So the dial is very nicely done. It's a matte black, as you can see there. Looks really good. It's kind of a dark gray. It's not really a matte black. But yeah, really happy with it. This is the fully printed model. So you have a printed minute track around the outside, nicely centered in the dial opening there. Nice thin rehout as well. So that's nice to see. The rehout, if you guys aren't aware, is the space between the crystal and the dial. So yeah, really nice and thin. That gives it kind of a more premium look in my opinion. Again, everything is fully printed. So you have your faux patina lume on all the hour markers there. You have a framed date window as well, which is nice to see. Printed hex logo, which I'm a fan of. I'm not a big fan of the applied one. Even the dial with the applied indices uses a printed logo. So I'm really happy with that. You have your pop of red here on the GMT automatic 200 meters. The handset that they use, very vintage proportions on those hands. They are a little bit short, but I think they look pretty good. Gold hands, as you can see here, nicely done, nice finishing on those hands, even really close. They look super clean. Yeah, very happy with that. Again, nice second hand sweeping around there. Again, a little bit short, but really not a deal breaker for me. I think it looks good. You've got your small triangle GMT hands, a really nice and subtle GMT hand. I think it all looks very nice. It's very vintage in size and proportions. I think they chose a good handset and through this thing. I think they could have made it just a little bit longer, but I know they're probably using what they have available to them and without creating a new set of hands for this thing. But yeah, I think the dial on this thing is done pretty nicely for what it is. And the lume, I think is also pretty nice. So I'm going to pop up a lume shot here. You can see it against a couple other watches in the collection. You can see the blue and the red on the bezel. That fades pretty quickly, but it is there visually. So really cool party trick. Printed faux patina lume doesn't have the best reputation for longevity, but this one is actually pretty decent. I'm overall pretty satisfied with this. It's got a nice bright glow right off the bat, and then it fades evenly throughout the night, but you can definitely still read this thing at 2 or 3 in the morning. So I'm pretty satisfied with the lume on it. All right, so let's talk about the movement in this thing. So the movement is the Seiko NH34. If you guys aren't aware, it's been in a ton of watches as of late, and for good reason. It's a workhorse movement. They are reliable, they're accurate, they're cheap enough. I've had no complaints with it. 21,600 beats per hour. It's got an independent GMT hand that is adjustable, and then an independent date window, which quick set. Very happy with it. I got no issues with them at all. Here's how this one's been running. -5 seconds. I'd like them to be on the positive side, but I really can't complain with -5 seconds, especially with a beat error like that as well. It's running very nicely for me. It is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown. You get a nice satisfying pop out from the NH34. It is a signed crown here. Plenty of grip on that. Nice smooth screw in and screw out action on the crown. But yeah, this is where everything is interacted with. First position here is your hand winding. It's nice and smooth. Second position is your date and your GMT. So if you roll it forward, this moves your GMT hand. It kind of jumps right into place. So very happy with that. You roll it backwards, that changes your date. So yeah, no real complaints with the functioning of this watch. Pulling it out to the third position hacks the movement, and this is where you set your time. Everything is nice and solid feeling. And yeah, screw in action. It's a crown where you're screwing or you're winding the movement while you're screwing it in. So you feel a little bit of resistance there, but it's really not that bad at all. Very solid crown, very solid movement. I've got no complaints. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So the bracelet is very nice. My first 5-link bracelet from San Martin, and it does not disappoint. Very happy with it. 20 millimeters. It tapers down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. It's a 5-link, solid links. Those middle links, they are solid. They are nicely polished as well. You have brushing on the outer links, polishing on the sides of them there. This bottom edge here, actually really soft, pretty smooth. It feels good. The fluidity of the bracelet is excellent. It doesn't pull hairs. It's a very comfortable bracelet, as I kind of expected it to be. The overall weight of the watch is dropped down because of this bracelet, but it still feels very solid. Sometimes you get a 5-link bracelet like this, and it makes the watch feel a little cheap. That's not the case with this one. It's a great bracelet. Working our way to the end links here. The end links, nice and solid and tight in there. I've got no real complaints other than the fact that they're male end links. So yeah, I would prefer female end links, but really, it doesn't make that big of a difference for my wrist. I think if you're trying to fit this on a smaller wrist, that might be an issue, but for me, it's fine. And you can see the end links, they do stop short of the lug tips there, so it keeps it as compact as they can. The case curvature is followed very nicely by those end links as well. It's nice and seamless. The brushing on the end links matches the brushing on the lug tips. Everything is done very, very nicely. Yeah, no real complaints with the bracelet on this thing. It's fantastic. And then you throw in the San Martin on the fly clasp. It is also fantastic. It's a super comfortable combination. You have a brushed top here, brushing on the side, polished chamfer here, matches the case nicely. And then you've got nicely rounded off pushers here. They're just really nice and soft. Yeah, very happy with it. Fully milled on the inside, nice tight tolerances there. Everything opens and closes as it should, nice and satisfying clicks. And then again, you have your on the fly clasp here, so you can push it in all you want. You don't need to press any buttons. And then you got to release it by pushing this little button here, and you can pull it out. So it gives about, I think it was 7 or 8 millimeters of adjustment. Very happy with it. This one, I usually put them on wrist, fully extended, and then tighten it down while it's on wrist till it's perfect. So for this model, that's how I do it. It works exactly as I want it to. It's great. I've got zero complaints with this clasp. They're fantastic. Yeah, this bracelet and this clasp combination, super comfortable. I love it. So there you go, guys. That is the 2024 version of the San Martin SN0005. It's a kind of a re-released version for San Martin. They updated it with the NH34, the new clasp in a couple different colorways. I think it's fantastic. It's a watch that I've liked for a very long time. I do wish it was a little bit smaller. This kind of vintage style would be just perfect in a 38 millimeter case. As it is, though, I still think it wears pretty good on a strap. I think it wears a little bit smaller. So that's how I've been wearing it. A shame because I like the bracelet. I think the bracelet's great. But if you guys are used to those kind of 40 and 41 millimeter watches and you want this kind of vintage aesthetic, this is a great option for you guys. It is a fantastic watch. I think if they tightened up that kind of that weird bezel play, it would be just a perfect watch almost. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's great. San Martin just doesn't disappoint with the case finishing and the bracelet quality. It's excellent. So I think you guys are going to like this one a lot. I like it a lot. I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.